We are less than a week until spring training, and we got some stuff to talk about today, Derek Togerson. It is the On Friar podcast, and about 8 days until, Derek, you ship off to Peoria.
Yes, that's going to be really, really fun. I'm taking out off on Friday the 13th, so the day after we do another podcast, and then we'll be there doing coverage Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and all throughout the rest of the spring. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing the guys out there. Looking forward to your coverage and having you out there. And I guess while we're talking about it, a quick programming note. This past Sunday was the last edition of Sports Wrap, which has been on at 11:35 for decades. But there will still be local sports on NBC7 at that time because we have a new show, Derek, called Sports Night in San Diego, which will air after the NBC game of the night, game of the week. Now that the NBA is on NBC, Major League Baseball coming to NBC, of course, NFL has been there for a long time, football night in San Diego. But we got a new show called Sports Night, and the first episode will be the 15th after the NBA All-Star game, and a big portion of that show will be with you talking about what you're seeing and hearing out in Peoria. So that'll be very exciting.
We get primetime 52 weeks a year, man. How great is that?
It's going to be fun. It's going to be really, really fun to talk about, whatever's going on, whatever NBC has ahead of us, and then whatever's going on in San Diego, and just kind of reaching out to folks, potential guests, that sort of thing. We should have some exciting folks joining us. And so I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a really, really fun show. And like you said, the primetime treatment coming out of a big game every week is going to be awesome. We got some stuff Padres related to discuss. Before we get to that, thanks as always to OGs, sponsor of the On Friar podcast. Appreciate all they do for On Friar and the NBC7 sports team. If you need a place to watch, the Super Bowl on Sunday, NBA, NHL, college hoops, whatever your sport of choice, maybe lunchtime, the Waste Management Open, some PGA Tour golf, hit up one of OG's many locations around San Diego County. Great menu, which are constantly updating, a bunch of specials all the time, and an awesome beer list. So appreciate OGs and all they do for On Friar and the NBC7 sports team. Without further ado, the walk-up music. It is the On Friar podcast brought to you by NBC7. He is Derek Togerson. I am Darnay Tripp. Pleased to be joining you less than a week out from the start of spring training in Peoria. Pitchers and catchers report Wednesday the 11th, if I'm not mistaken, Derek.
Correct.
And then first full squad Sunday the 15th, and you will be out there. And looking forward to getting the wheels turning once again. And should be kind of a quick start, of course, with WBC. Guys get out there earlier. A lot of action in those early days, really even before the first full squad workout, because time is of the essence in a WBC year. And so we'll discuss that. You were out at FanFest over the weekend. I'm sure want to get into kind of some of your impressions and what we heard, some ownership news, and a new bat, Derek, in the form of Miguel Andujar, who I don't believe is official at this point. Did the Padres put anything out about that yet?
Not yet, but that's one of those like, hey, just do your physical. It's going to happen.
Yeah, $4 million for 2026 for a guy who had a nice year last year. And if you go way back in the Wayback Machine to 2018, hit 27 bombs. 26 since then, including 10 last year. But could be a useful piece, a guy that, as many have pointed out, has hit lefties well. So could be a very interesting addition. Excited to see what he brings to the lineup.
He is one of those guys who, that rookie year, that you know who he finished second to in American League Rookie of the Year balloting?
Who's that?
Shohei Ohtani.
Ah.
Yeah. So that's, if Ohtani didn't exist, or he would have signed with the Padres because the National League had a DH, and we're not going to go down that whole road right now, he would have been the Rookie of the Year. And then since then, it has just been injury trouble, injury trouble, injury trouble, injury trouble. He has had all kinds of trouble just staying healthy and getting on the field. But you're right. Last year between Oakland and Cincinnati, when he was on the field again, like 90 something games, he was really, really good. Puts the ball in play, not a whole lot of home run power, but he hits a lot of doubles. He gets on base a lot. He certainly is a viable option as a right-handed DH kind of flyer right now. So I like it. I like the move. Kind of the equivalent of offensive equivalent of like a Nick Pivetta kind of signing. Like maybe you see there's some tools there. He hasn't really fully realized his potential. He comes in, you figure out how to unlock him when he gets here to San Diego.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, you make a great point. 149 games in 2018, didn't play more than 45 in the 5 or 6 years since. And 20 or after that in 2024, played 75 games, hit 285. And then last year, 94 games split between the A's and the Reds, 318 average, 822 OPS, 125 OPS plus, and 10 home runs, some very useful numbers, and a guy, can slot in, DH. I would imagine see him mostly DH and out in the outfield. He's played some at third, it looks like, but I think the Padres are probably in decent shape in that regard. But like you said, a guy that going against lefties because for whatever reason, Derek, I don't know why, but that was kind of one of the big stories last year is, obviously like Sheets, what can he do against lefties? I think he came around a little bit, but, for whatever reason, Tatis Machado not feasting on lefties the way that you would expect those guys to. And so it sounds like he'll be a guy that can help out in that regard. Last year hit 389 with a 986 OPS against left-handed pitching. So
I'll take that. That was, but could we use that in the wild card series last year? Darn it, when the Cubs are running out their 7,000 left-handed relief pitchers, and for some inexplicable reason, Mike Schill continued to stack the 6, 7, 8 hole spots with lefties and put left-handed hitting Luis Arraez in the 2 spot. Could we have used a right-handed bat in that situation?
I think so. And even his career numbers, a 297 average against lefties, 275 against righties, 734 OPS against righties, 807 against lefties. And 17 of his home runs have come against lefties in less than half of the at-bats he's had against righties. So yeah, you're right. And and you mentioned Luis Arraez. Probably should mention that as well. He's headed to the Giants. And I hate to say, Luis is such a likable guy. I hate to say I was relieved, but there was that lingering fear in the back of my mind that they just kind of get desperate and say, let's run it back. We know he's great in the clubhouse. And but I think there was a little bit of relief that once the news broke that he was going to San Francisco, that we're not going to have that flirtation to kind of bring him back, because he's just not the type of bat that the Padres need at this stage from the left side without the power. So wish him all the best in San Francisco. I think it's probably for the best that those two sides have moved in different directions.
Yeah, in 2024, he was great. Won a batting title, but they had guys hitting the ball out of the ballpark. You had a Jackson Merrill who was healthy. Manny was flirting with 30 bombs. You had other guys in the lineup who were hitting with authority. Last year, they didn't have that, and that really exposed the lack of power that Luis Arraez provides you. So in the right lineup, that's why I kept thinking the Yankees are going to go after him. That's all they have is guys hit the ball out of the ballpark. He would fit wonderfully as a complement in a lineup like that. Not sure how the Giants. Same kind of thing. They don't have a whole lot of guys who hit the ball out of the ballpark consistently, especially not in that yard. So not sure what they see there, but hey, this is the problem with him signing with a division rival. Is you're right. I love Luis. He's one of my favorite people in baseball because he's just so happy all the time. So I want to wish him the best of luck, but it's hard because he's a Giant now. So it's one of those, like, I'm kind of torn, you know what I mean? With, hey, hit 360, just go 0 for 27 against the Padres. Can we have that happen somehow?
Yeah. And knowing Luis, I mean, I think, he's going to be inspired when those games against the Padres come about, because he is such a funny, likable guy, but you also see that like competitive edge and that fieriness. I mean, going back to that Dodgers walk-off that he had like within a week after he got traded in 2024.
His first home game at Petco Park. Yep.
Yeah. He looked possessed. So there is that side of Luis Arraez, and I would imagine, when you've given a couple seasons to the team and done some good things, have been a kind of a big part of the picture, and it seems pretty clear that they're not interested in bringing you back. At least that's what it looks like from the outside. I would think that that's going to play into his emotions whenever those series come around.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who, like I said, if there's a big moment, he likes it. He maybe not always, he's not always going to be successful in them, but one thing I can guarantee you, he's not going to shy away from them. And more often than not, he's going to do something good in them.
Yeah. Cody on the stream says, "Let's go team." That's right, Cody.
Yes, Cody, let's go to. Which team are you talking about? Like team NBC San Diego, team Padres, team.
Right.
Go all teams that we like.
Go. Just generic all teams. As far as the DH situation goes, again, you figure Andujar factors into that, especially now with Craig Stammen and Gavin Sheets talking about sounds like he's got right of first refusal at first base.
Mm-hmm. So Sheets Craig said on Saturday morning, yes.
Yeah, Sheets sounds really excited about that. And so in terms of looking at the pieces that could factor into that DH role, obviously Luis Campusano, Andujar, Sungmun Song, you would think opening day, probably not, out in the field right out of the gates. Am I missing anybody in terms of what that looks like at the moment?
No, not specifically, but Craig said it'd be DH be a chance to give Manny a few days off his feet, Toddy a few days off his feet, Xander a few days off. They'll use it in that regard as well. But that's going to be 24 games of the entire season for those three guys. So AJ did talk about the DH thing, and Campusano they see him as a primary catcher, but he played first base in the minor leagues, as John Conniff, our friend on Friar, or at Matt Friars, pointed out to us, and he can also DH. So he could very well be doing a lot of that. But one thing we know is Gavin Sheets is going to be the first baseman. And actually, I asked him about the split that you brought up, Darnay, about how he's much better in the field than he is as a designated hitter. And he said, kind of what I suspected, when you're out on the field, you're engaged, you feel like you're more part of it. When you're DHing and you say you pop up, you've got 45 minutes just to dwell on that at bat. And you think about it too much. And then you don't have quite as much success, if you're trying to put a little more pressure on yourself or whatever it may be. He says mentally it's much easier for him to play a position because he's out there and can't dwell on what went wrong in the previous at bat. So he's one of those guys who's just wired that way, who needs to be out there in the field. And that's the vast majority of players. Lots of guys don't like DHing. Jose Canseco didn't even like DHing. So you got to figure, he's a guy who's going to be in the field. And if he gets the kind of production that he got when he was putting a glove on his hand, I think he's one of those really sleeper, 25 home run, 820 OPS kind of guys, which is absolutely what you want for a guy making $3 million as a corner infielder.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. The guy I was thinking about was Jose Miranda. What do we see from Jose Miranda once spring training rolls around? Will Wagner as well. Bryce Johnson's still around. And so it'll be, one of the storylines, who kind of seizes kind of stakes their claim to that opening day DH spot as the right guy, right fit in the lineup. What does he bring? Does he provide some power? But I thought that was a really interesting answer from Gavin Sheets. It almost felt like what you hear in talking about basketball, if a shooter is slumping, just play hard on defense. You hear guys talk about it all the time, especially covering the Aztecs, when defense is such an important part of what they do. It's don't worry about your shots, don't worry about your offensive game, go make an impact on the defensive side of the ball. And so I thought that was a really interesting and well said kind of explanation from Gavin, just in terms of his approach. And you could certainly understand if you're just on the rail all night, with the exception of those 4 or 5 at bats, if the first 2 go a little bit sideways, you could see how they would trickle into the next 2 or 3 as well. And so to be out there, to be engaged and be able to make an impact, I thought that was a really insightful answer.
Yeah, it's really cool. And that was one thing I really took away from being there at FanFest, or never talking to these guys, it was one of the most open and revealing rounds of interviews that I've really ever done. I've been doing that for a long time now. And the guys were really forthcoming and opening up about a lot of things, how they really felt about stuff. Jake Cronenworth, especially. I'm going to do a piece for NBC7 probably this weekend or next week about Jake. Really, really insightful about his career, where he stands, what kind of a ball player he is. A lot of guys just kind of really opening up about some more in-depth topics than just the typical game kind of stuff. I really enjoyed talking to every single one of those guys. It was a nice kind of different, refreshing FanFest interview session.
On that topic, or do you want to touch on the ownership stuff?
I think people want to hear the ownership stuff. I think, FanFest is fun. It's always everybody's happy, everybody's fun, everybody's great. And this time of year, everybody's healthy. Everyone feels the best they ever have. Joe Musgrove was actually really revealing when he's like, I feel great. And I know I've said that all throughout the process. A lot of that, I wasn't being entirely truthful. I was trying to speak it into existence. But he says now, legitimately, I really mean it this time. I feel great. Full go, no stop for spring training. Michael King is stoked to be back here. He was kind of waiting for the Padres all offseason. He even said that free agency is really kind of not all it is cracked up to be. I think he maybe didn't like the process all that much. We're saying maybe he doesn't opt out after this year. That would be great.
Well, yeah.
Stick around, Mike. We'd like you here as long as you can possibly stay. Fantastic. Other than that, not a whole lot of other takeaways other than Mason Miller is going to strike out every single hitter he faces this year. So other than that, we're good to go.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the ownership stuff. The two big developments, one, Shield basically dropping pretty much all of the lawsuit against the Seidler brothers. And so that kind of clears that air. And you wonder how much of impediment might be too strong a word, but just kind of a piece of business keeping, just kind of getting that sort of settled before they kind of figure out the ownership side of things. That's no longer, it seems to no longer be lingering. And then a couple new names, billionaires who have dabbled in Premier League soccer and who have pursued major league franchises across, major league sports in the States that are now apparently knocking on the door of the Padres. Any particular part of this kind of most intrigue you?
Dan Friedkin intrigues me quite a bit. Have you looked at
9.9 billion intrigues me as well.
Yeah, he's the one who probably has the most cash. Joe Lacob was actually, I'm not sure if we were the first ones, Darnay, when all this whole ownership thing popped up to say Joe Lacob is an option. I know we were early on in that.
Yeah.
But he obviously has expressed interest, which we all kind of expected that he would, and he would be. And we can go back to the Barry Bloom thing if we want to, but I just can't see a world in where he tries to move a team. We see what he's done with Golden State, where he invested, man. He invested and he won himself several championships. So they know the guy wants to win. The guy who's backing Chelsea, what is his name again?
Jose E. Feliciano. And
yes.
I wrote something about he and Friedkin yesterday, and I got a very kind email from somebody who represents Feliciano and says, hey, could you do me a favor? He likes to be referred to as Jose E. Feliciano. If you could add the middle initial to his name. And so there you go. Something to keep in mind. There is an interesting Dodgers aspect of that, if you want to get into it, that could be kind of curious.
Take it away. Yeah, because this is going to come up, and one of the issues that people had with the last people who bought it was the O'Malley family was involved, and that's a long-time Dodger thing.
Well, I think it could go two ways. Yep. So essentially, when they purchased Chelsea, Clear Lake Capital, Jose Feliciano, and Badad Feliciano. There we go. I already messed it up. And Badad Egbali, who's been kind of the more front-facing part of that ownership duo. So it was Clear Lake Capital and then Blueco, Todd Bowley, minority owner with the Dodgers. Mark Walter as well involved with Blueco. He is the owner and chairman of the Dodgers. So those two groups came together to make the purchase of Chelsea in 2022. So on one hand, Jose E. Feliciano has some relationship with these Dodger owners. The other side of it, though, Derek, is in 2024, there were reports from Bloomberg, BBC, Sky Sport that there was a rift between these two ownership groups. Mm-hmm. And they were basically trying to buy each other out. And Clear Lake Capital, Jose E. Feliciano's group, owns nearly 62% of Chelsea. This Blueco group is like 35, 38, whatever the rest is. And it's been kind of a staring contest ever since. There's been no movement from that standpoint, at least based on what I've seen. Both sides kind of want to stay involved. Todd Boehly was initially like the owner, kind of front-facing individual. It was the sporting director for a little while. He's either kind of stepped back or been sidelined by this Clear Lake Capital Group. And so all that's going on. Padres up for sale. Jose Feliciano decides to go for the Padres. On one hand, it's like, okay, he's got relationships with these Dodgers folks. On the other hand, you're like, maybe he doesn't like those guys. Maybe he's like, I doubt he's buying this. It's not like the Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm Spike coffee shop. He hated the one coffee shop owner, so he opened up a coffee shop next door. I doubt it's something like that. But there's reason to wonder about kind of the state of that relationship. And so, like you said, it's going to come up if Jose Feliciano ends up being the owner. People are going to ask him about his relationship with those guys. Did it sour? Did you become a Dodger fan in the meantime? I'm pretty sure Clear Lake is headquartered in Santa Monica. Jose is from Puerto Rico originally. He went to Princeton. He went to Stanford. But just kind of an interesting wrinkle that like maybe adds an interesting layer to the Padre-Dodger rivalry if it goes in that direction.
He's the guy who I think might be third on my list. Just because, he's got 1/3 the net worth that Friedkin has, and he just doesn't have the North American sports history or knowledge or experience that Lacob has. So we're talking about again, there are going to be other people who jump into the mix here at some point and kind of come and go. He would probably be number 3 on my list.
It's interesting. I was just looking up because both have so Feliciano made a run at the Chargers in 2022. And had a failed bid. This is based on Sportico. So Sportico, who had the original reporting about Feliciano and Friedkin.
Wait, the Chargers were never officially put up for sale. Did he hear about all the stuff going on with Dean and Dia and like kick the tires on it?
He was close to buying a minority stake in the Chargers 2 years ago, and was among those who bid unsuccessfully for the Denver Broncos in 2022. So he's been making a push for a North American sports franchise. Friedkin, I guess he's been, kicking the tires in the NHL space, trying to get a team in Houston, and was a finalist in the bidding for the Boston Celtics, which went for wasn't like 10 billion or something like that, some crazy amount earlier this year or last year.
Yeah, it was not quite as much as the Lakers went for 10 billion. The Celtics went for slightly less than that.
So I think I agree with you in terms of Friedkin. He was born in San Diego as well.
Yes.
And in doing some Googling, you never know. But I think he might, or his family might still own property in Rancho Santa Fe. Don't quote me on that. Interesting.
It would make sense if he did. He's worth $10 billion.
I think he can afford it. And I think that house is worth $7 million based on the site that I saw, but I can't necessarily speak to the credibility of that website. Again, just doing some light Googling. His dad was like a stunt pilot. I think he might have been in the Air Force. Really interesting background. Friedkin still does some flying, does a bunch of golfing, it sounds like. His dad started a Toyota conglomerate in Houston that sells a crazy amount of Toyotas. He's got some other business ventures as well. But
it's Gulf States Toyotas. In fact, they have exclusive rights to sell Toyotas in like 7 southern states, including Texas. So like nobody else can sell Toyotas in Texas or like Louisiana or Mississippi. It's ridiculous. And then did you look into his Hollywood ties?
I saw something, but I didn't look too closely into it.
Yeah, he's got a production company. His production company produces Landman, the Billy Bob Thornton show, and also Killers of the Flower Moon, which a couple of years ago kind of took the Oscars by storm.
Yeah.
So he's one of those guys who, went to Georgetown, then went to Rice, which is why he has such a tie in Houston there. So kind of how he kind of hunkered down. But he's not one of these guys who went to a bunch of Ivy League schools. He's just he's like a dude, right? He's like a dude's dude who just took what his dad started and took it to a whole new level. But it also seems like he's really kind of grounded and he gets where he came from. And he's just like an everyday kind of guy. He owns a luxury resorts because he wanted to get into that space. He's just kind of like, he reminds me of like a Mark Cuban, where it's just like, all right, this dude is just going to be fun and cool. And oh, by the way, when he took over Everton, and I was actually texting with our friend Darren Smith about this because he knows European soccer like crazy.
Yeah.
How has Everton run ever since this guy took over? And Darren said, listen, they were in financial ruin. They were on the brink of relegation. And a year and a half, 2 years later, they're very solid financially, and they're sitting right in the middle of the table, nowhere near relegation. So whatever this guy did, he came in and he ran the professional sports franchise properly. And that gives me a lot of hope that he's going to do the exact same thing with a team that's not, I mean, certainly not on the brink of falling apart, but is actually in a very good, strong position to contend and compete. So when I heard what he did with an actual professional, soccer club in the Premier League, that kind of made me go, okay, I like the fact that he's not buying these things up as investments. He wants to win.
Yeah. And he's owned AS Roma in Italy's top league since 2019 as well. He runs Pursuit Sports, and I found this quote. This is, when they launched Pursuit Sports in July of 2025. This was his quote kind of about that venture. The launch marks an exciting new chapter in the Friedkin Group's vision to elevate and empower world-class sports organizations. Through this platform, we can do more. We can do more than support our teams at a high level. We are investing in their long-term success by bringing together the full strength of our global expertise, resources, in pursuit of excellence. That's a quote from a release, but I still feel like it kind of gives you some insight in kind of their approach. And I think, one of the things the Padres have needed is like really sharp business acumen. And how can you allocate your resources, your contacts, your expertise to position this club as best as possible in the media space, whatever it be, on top of having a owner that's worth $10 billion. Just having that savvy, because that's what it requires at this stage. We'll see what happens with the lockout and revenue sharing and maybe all the media is under one umbrella and salary cap and all that. But having somebody with like sharp business acumen, relationships, contacts, experience that they all can use to kind of lift up this franchise, I think that could be really valuable for the Padres, especially at this stage.
That'd be awesome. And if this was a guy who was, kind of flirting with the idea of the NHL space and things like that, the NHL could come here. That wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. Help come in. He could come in here and basically like anchor all of San Diego sports, right? Own the Padres, build something over there where Kroenke's trying to build something for a new arena, bring a National Hockey League team here. Like he could do a whole bunch of stuff and then be like the guy back in his hometown. So that's the one who really intrigues me the most, because like with Jose Feliciano, if he's trying to buy the Chargers, well, a Major League Baseball team is going to be 30% of the cost of an NFL team. So if that's the stratosphere he's trying to fly in, then he certainly should be able to afford a Major League Baseball team, you would think. Yeah. So these guys, they all seem extremely viable, which is nice. I mean, I still remember the Jeff Morad days where he basically tried to buy the Padres from John Morris on layaway, like it was like COD. And he just never had the ability to do it. And Major League Baseball inexplicably approved the sale. It was one of the dumbest things that's ever happened in San Diego sports history, and just in sports business history in general. And then Peter Seidler and the O'Malley family and Ron Fowler came in and kind of bailed us out of that and then saved the day and rebuilt the entire organization and the fan base at the same time. So the fact that we're not going to see another one of those kinds of things where it's like the guy just doesn't really have a plan, doesn't really know what he's doing, kind of just wants to do it because it sounds fun. That's not going to happen anymore. Like that makes me feel really good about this.
Hot off the presses from Dennis Lin of The Athletic, of course. The headline: initial bids in Padres sale process expected near end of February.
Cool.
So I will peruse this. A couple other notes. Jose Feliciano, he and his wife have also invested in something called Monarch Collective, which has invested in a bunch of NWSL teams, one of which is the San Diego Wave. So a bit of a connection there. Worth about 1.5 more than Joe Lacob, Davey Sports 98 chiming in. Joe Lacob is a no. Look at how the Warriors are wasting Curry's final elite years. Yes, to Friedkin. Could even see him trying to bring NFL back here too after seeing how great Padres fans are.
Davey,
that would be great.
I love you. Joe Lacob won 4 titles in 9 years. I'll take that.
Yeah.
We're good. Win 4 titles in 9 years and then don't win a game for 4 years. I don't care.
I do
I'll take that. Let's go.
I do think that that kind of lingering fear with Joe Lacob, is he going to move the franchise? And I think we both agree probably not. But it's enough of a thing that makes me think, okay, I doubt these other guys will, especially Dan Friedkin. And so that's where, like, yeah, I'm right there with you with Friedkin at the top of the list. And there's less reason to believe that these guys are just going to grab the franchise, pick it up, move it some other part of the country. Whereas Joe Lacob obviously has strong ties in the Bay Area.
Here you go.
So
From store 17 from the 30,000 foot level, Friedkin will be great. More worth and homegrown. I like it. Give me the guy with the biggest pocketbook and the guy who has the real tie to San Diego. What I don't know about Friedkin is, when did he leave? Like, how long did he spend any formative years? That's what I can't find out. Like, I know I went to Georgetown for college. I don't know where he went to high school. I haven't been able to find that yet.
Mm-hmm. According to Dennis's piece, prospective buyers include Golden State Warriors Joe Lacob, interested in the buying the Padres, exploring the idea, though he's not yet committed to bidding for the franchise. So we'll see there. I'm trying to see if there's Dan Friedkin, Jose E. Feliciano. Nothing too new yet. Sportico, by the way, their latest evaluation for the Padres, $2.31 billion.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
So where that, I think your previous reporting had it somewhere, I think, or what we've discussed in the past, like around 2.5, something like somewhere in that neighborhood.
And typically these, as we've seen, professional sports franchises typically go a little bit higher than their estimated worth. So like the Washington Commanders going to Walt Harris for $6 billion. They were estimated to be worth like 4.8 or something like that. So you're bidding for a lot.
There's also this, and there was also mention about a Korean consortium that was from, and I'm probably butchering his name, Ibanovi Williams from Sportico, who obviously did this reporting. He was on with Ben and Woods and said that he heard about a group from South Korea that might be interested as well. And it was a bit of an aside in that, like, he keeps in contact with all these people that are, typically inquiring when a club goes up for sale, and you start to figure out who the players are. And it's usually pretty consistent when this arises. And he said there's always surprise groups, and this was being one of those surprise groups that could be interested as well, this group from South Korea. So
are there any foreign-born owners in Major League Baseball? Because I can't think of any. That I can't think of any. That would be very interesting to see if Major League Baseball, with America's pastime, would sell a team to a group from another country.
Yeah.
I mean, the Padres have minority owners who are from Mexico. But the primary, the team point people, they're the main ownership groups typically tend to be of American descent, and everyone else on here so far checks that box. That'd be a huge surprise.
Yeah, I don't know when. I believe Jose E. Feliciano was born in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Puerto Rico. He's the American.
Yeah.
True.
Just
like Bad Bunny.
And so, yeah, it's two things I would say is, first, cash rules everything around me. So, like, I think the dollars will speak there, and also just kind of the international growth of the game, specifically in Asia, Japan, Korea. We've obviously seen it with the Padres, and so I wouldn't imagine that would be a hang up, especially if they are coming with a competitive offer, so to speak.
That one again. We'll see. That one now. If they come, here's the thing. You're right. If they come in with a $4 billion offer, well, welcome to San Diego.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you in that Friedkin seems like the most logical. I think people would feel good about that. The fact that he was born in San Diego, and the fact that in terms of what we know, he's got the deepest pockets.
Yep, that's as far exactly. And what's cool about it, again, is like he's he's invested in so many different things, cars and movies and TV shows and luxury resorts and golf courses. Like he's everywhere, So you got to talk about a guy who understands how to find diversity in revenue streams, and what do the Padres need right now? Diversity in revenue streams.
Yeah. Let's see. This is from Davey Sports. In Dennis's article, although Lacob and his teams are located in the Bay Area, he would not look to move. I missed this line. He would not look to move the Padres out of Southern California, according to people familiar with his thinking. What do you mean Southern California? Can we be more specific to San Diego County?
Yes.
Move the Padres to San
I'll read
Clemente?
between the lines on that one and say that they're not going to be moving to El Segundo.
Yeah, probably not. So it's interesting. The timing of this as well, I think, with the lockout coming, almost definitely coming, what impact would that have on the sale? There was a piece in The Athletic that discussed all this and how, team valuations are expected to go up if there is a salary cap. And so from a business standpoint, would the Seidlers then say, hey, let's kind of see how things shake out? That might boost the value a little bit. Would the general uncertainty scare off any buyers? But it sounds like, things are moving forward, and all these things, including the Shield Seidler piece of it, seem to indicate that something is on the horizon, which is kind of exciting.
It's weird. Usually when these kinds of things happen, you talk about like sales of teams, like it's stressful, man. Like it is knee knocking stressful. I know we've been through it with the Chargers and Dino, when this first came up, it was kind of like, I don't know about this. I think that was more of the, come on, man, fulfill Peter's legacy. What are you doing? And now seeing how they've kind of positioned themselves to like, and I guess the way I turned around on it is John and Tom Seidler didn't buy the Padres. Peter did. So they really are under no obligation to try and stick around and do what he wanted them to do, which it sucks because I loved Peter so much and would love to see that happen for his family and for his legacy. At the same time, these other guys are doing what they feel like is best for them, and this is their asset to do that with. And so now I've kind of turned the corner to start thinking, you know what? If they don't want it, give it to somebody who does. Let's get somebody in here who really wants this asset. If you're going to pay $2.5–3 billion for something, you want that asset. So let's get somebody in here who truly wants to be the owner of the San Diego Padres and do something great with it, like Peter was trying to do. So I really see this as as you said, an exciting time right now for Padres baseball, and not the knee-knocking stress of, oh my God, what's going to happen?
Yeah, that's a great point, because there was that existential fear, when Peter passed, like, oh my gosh, are they going to sell? And I think at that time it was like, you hope not. But then, these changes come. Nobody knows what to think of Eric Kutsenda, and then it ends up being John
Eric
Seidler.
Kutsenda knows what to think of Eric Kutsenda.
We've still kind of never heard from John Seidler. And so you don't know him. There doesn't seem to be that same interest in being stewards of the franchise. Peter had incredible intangibles, and we felt like we really got to know him and what an incredible person he is.
Mm-hmm.
And you read up on these other people, and they seem to have different intangibles from Peter Seidler, but like intangibles and traits and characteristics that make them successful business people, in some cases successful owners of major league franchises. And you could understand, be hopeful that they would have success with the Padres. They would help them continue to pursue championships. If there are deep pockets, maybe make the type of deals, hand out the types of contracts you need to in order to be a winning club. Maybe ease some of the fear of kind of the purse strings tightening a little bit. And when you start to maybe get an idea of what could be on the other side, I think it does help you warm up to the idea, especially when the guys that are in charge now, it's like, I don't even know who these guys are and how much they even really care to be doing this.
Yeah, exactly. If you got somebody who's just kind of going through the motions because they were put in a position they didn't want in the first place, cut them loose. Let them go. We're gonna keep our team here. We're gonna get somebody in charge of it who really wants to go kick a lot of ass, and that's what we're gonna go do.
Yeah. And if the owner happens to hate the Dodgers because he's worked closely with their owners and is sick of them, and
All the
got
more reason.
even
Yes.
even better. When you're talking, it remind me, Jose E. Feliciano is Clear Lake Capital, which he co-founded, managing partner of $90 billion in assets, which is
So
a
that's good.
bananas number, by the way.
That's good. Yeah. I'd take that.
So we'll see. It's nice to hear some of these other names. The Joe Lacob thing just seemed like kind of like him, Joe Tsai, Stan Kroenke. Like, sure, maybe those guys. Steve Ballmer, sure, why not?
Your usual suspects, right?
And it was hard to tell just how interested Joe Lacob is. It seems like that is legit, and now these other guys, even more so. So it's good to see and nice to see some movement, and hopefully we have some resolution. Maybe we meet these guys on opening day. Who knows?
That'd be nice. Yeah. And maybe that time AJ Preller will have a contract as well. Which he did talk about, by the way. He did also talk about that at FanFest, and he's like, part of it's on me, right?
Yeah.
Like I get so focused on what I'm doing. Like I haven't talked to anybody yet, but like I'm not worried about it. So I'm like, all right, cool. That sounds good to me.
Yeah. Store 17 asking, one question would be, if Friedkin was to buy the team, would he be willing to spend like Peter?
That is the
with any of these guys, really.
243, I think what the CBT is this year, $244 million question.
Yeah.
One would hope, but I also think, I mean, we all know Peter got reckless toward 2023, 2022, 2023, the Xander Bogaerts contract, that kind of stuff. Peter got reckless because he was chasing that championship so hard. So do I think that someone like Friedkin would come in and spend like Peter? Yes. I do also think that he would take a page from the Dodgers book. The reason that the Dodgers win is not because they spend all that money. The Mets spend a bunch of money, they never win. The Dodgers spend it in the right places. So I think it would be that. Would he spend it in the right places? And I believe the answer to that is yes. I think he would, because he's shown with his business acumen, the way he's turned Everton around. He's got Roma's always a power in Italy. Yeah, it would be. I think he's been in the right places, and we certainly would not be wondering like at the trade deadline, like, can we add Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano because they go $3 million over the CBT? Like, we'd be fine there. So that I think he would certainly do. Spending like Peter though it's hard for anybody to do that because that man was so focused on getting a championship.
I just found this article from the BBC that I think would encourage folks. Everton just set a club record for their spending. Everton have signed, this is from, when was this from? September. Again, from the BBC, Everton have signed 9 players at a net cost of £97 million, their highest net outlay in a summer transfer window and more than they had spent over the previous 7 seasons combined.
Ooh.
It gets better. The takeover by the Friedkin Group has been transformational, with Everton's, and listen to this, crippling debts turned into equity, repaid or refinanced on more favorable terms. If that doesn't strike a chord with Padres fans, I don't know what to tell you.
This is the blueprint, man. This is because the Padres have debt. They need to find ways of spending money, but doing it in a more efficient way. Like this is it. That's it. That's the guy. We found our owner, right? Like I don't care what the price. I don't care if somebody else comes in higher. Give it to that man.
I like this. I think Friedkin's the guy. I hope Friedkin's the guy.
This freaking go, man.
And the interesting, the thing with Jose E. Feliciano is, I don't know how involved he's really been, but with that ownership kind of duo, Blueco and Clear Lake, Boley's been really involved. Badad Egbali, his partner at Clear Lake, has been really involved. Jose E. Feliciano has seemed to be kind of in the background. So now Peter Seidler was kind of in the background until 2020. And look at the impact he made. So that doesn't necessarily tell you everything, but he seems to have been. Now also another thing you hear from Friedkin, or the impression that I've gotten just kind of from reading and seeing different clips, is he's also not like hovering around all the time. Like he does operate in the background, but like what the club needs, he's willing to provide. Maybe not quite as hands-on, which is fine, as long as the club is getting what they need.
That sounds like Kroenke's approach.
Hmm.
Stan Kroenke is very much hands off. What he does is he puts the right people in charge and takes a step back and every now and then says, "What do you need? Oh, you need to trade Jared Goff and give Matt Stafford a massive contract. We're going to Super Bowl. Great, let's do it." That's really what he's there for. But he takes really smart people and puts them in position of power, and then takes a step back. So it sounds like Jose E. Feliciano is more of the Kroenke type, whereas Dan Friedkin is more of the Peter Seidler type. So, I mean, both of them could very well work. By the way, from now on, if that is the case, LFGSD stands for Let's Friedkin Go San Diego. That's it. We're starting. There you go. See, there you go. Storzy and me, we're on the same page. Well done. That's a beautiful dog, by the way.
I mean, honestly, Let's Friedkin Go San Diego should be on the t-shirts that the entire staff and players are wearing on the day that he's introduced.
Yep. And the D is just a picture of his head. Why are we not graphic designers? You should be doing this right now. Get a Cricut.
We have missed our calling. All right, that's exciting. We got a few minutes. Anything else on your mind? Look ahead to spring training. Anything else from FanFest? I know there's some hubbub about Bogarts and Manny not being around. Oh, you also mentioned Preller. Him pumping the brakes could be him knowing that this thing's moving along and he wants to meet these guys first. So
that could be it too. Yeah. At the same time, if new ownership is coming in, you might want to go ahead and lock yourself down for a little while for some job security. You never know. Or maybe that is something that the current ownership group has been told, like, you know what? New people coming in might want to hire their own folks. So, which doesn't explain how our group got a contract, but hey, that's, and again, I'm not saying anything against Eric. I think he absolutely deserves to be there as well. They've turned Petco Park into an absolute destination, and it's been fantastic. Him, Eric, and AJ have both done a tremendous job in their roles. So I see no reason to make any changes there. I think the other stuff from FanFest, something else that AJ would have talked about is they still need to address starting rotation. I think they're probably hoping that a guy like Tristan McKenzie or Marco Gonzalez or one of these veterans that they've signed kind of comes in and looks like he has something left. So, but I think they also know that's probably not going to be the case. Framber Valdez going to the Tigers, I think, is going to kind of unlock a lot of the remaining free agents they have out there. So one of those guys, a Zach Gallen, a Chris Bassett, whatever, insert name here, one of those types of guys in that tier of free agents is going to end up in San Diego. It's just an issue of a matter of figuring out who it's going to be and when they get there. And will they be there in time for spring training or in time to be there for opening day? So something else is going to happen. I don't know if they found their final bats. But we're going to see some more movement on the pitching staff. AJ more or less said that they know that's a priority and they're going to figure it out somehow.
I think I might have interviewed Marco Gonzalez the day he got drafted in 2013 by the Mariners.
Nice.
Was it the Mariners? No, it was the Cardinals. Yeah, it was the Cardinals. He was a Gonzaga star. I was working in Spokane. Nice guy. I've always kind of kept sort of watch on the outside of his career, and I was excited to see him coming to San Diego. And AJ talked about it last year with all those bats, the Yuli Gurriel and Connor Joe and Jason Hayward didn't quite work out, but he was like, hey, we got lucky, in so many words. I forget exactly how he phrased it in 2024 with David Peralta and Donovan Solano. He's like, we need to do that again, offensively. Didn't quite happen until deadline.
Sheets. They got sheets. So
they did.
One.
Yes. Yeah. But now it feels that way with the rotation with some of these guys that they've brought in that have some pedigree, have some history, that potentially could be options in that number 5 spot. But I do agree. If you make another acquisition, a veteran arm that there are fewer questions about, I think that would make everybody feel a little bit better.
Yeah, no question, no question. And again, Gonzalez, he was really good for a long time, and then injuries got him. McKenzie was really good for 3-4 years, and then injuries got him. So you're looking at these guys going, man, if they can get and Ruben is just the wild card in all of this. In fact, I even asked AJ, when you've got a guy like Ruben, when you take flyers on guys like this who have this injury history, how much of that is just really having faith in that pitching coach to be able to get more out of these guys or find a way to quote unquote fix them and get them back out there. And you say, well, there's a lot of factors, scouting, prior, medicals, prior performance, yada, yada. But yeah, Ruben is a big part of that. So if it comes down to the guy who the last guy to sign off on the arm is Ruben Niebla, which just seems like that's going to be the case for most of these, I have a lot more hope in some of these guys bouncing back than I think most organizations would.
He worked with Tristan McKenzie in Cleveland, so there's some history there.
A lot of familiarity there. And by the way, up until 2022, Tristan McKenzie was great. Sub-3 ERA, sub-4 ERA, and 1 year sub-3 ERA over 30 starts. The second Ruben left, everything exploded.
Something to think about. Are you taking the day Thursday since you're heading out Friday, or are you working your normal schedule next week?
Oh, I'm working normal. You can't keep me away. No, we go day before the day. Dave, if we have our first full, our first pitchers and catchers workouts Peoria, I'm be monitoring that feed, man. I'm be looking at who's walking around, who looks good in shorts. It's going to be awesome.
So maybe we might try and reach out to some of our friends who might be out there in Peoria to link up with them as a spring training preview of sorts and kind of get their first impressions. And then you'll be rolling out there on Friday, talking about it a lot on the premiere of Sports Night in San Diego Sunday night. Maybe another pod on Monday. You can fit into your very busy schedule when you're out there, but lots of Padres content to come. So that's exciting.
We're also going to do a half-hour special on our streaming platform on Monday, March 23rd. So check that. I don't have a time on that yet, but keep an eye out for that one. It's going to be a full half-hour report from Peoria on what the first few days of spring training are looking like, and this kind of all thing. Get to know some of the new guys, get reacquainted with some of the old guys. Elroy Spatcher, our photojournalist extraordinaire, is going out there with me. So we should have plenty of good stuff to bring you on multiple different platforms on NBC7.
March 23rd or February 23rd?
I'm sorry, February 23rd. My God, I jumped a whole month ahead. Thank you. February 23rd.
I was going to say, we're almost at opening day. Thank you to you, Stores 17. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. Fun pod, fun things to discuss, and more ahead. We will catch you next week.